How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to Rangers Rundown. Another 10 games in the book for this season. So let's talk about games 41 through 50. If we go back, this takes us all the way back to the game at Carolina, which was a loss 6-3. Then they came home the next day and they played Arizona, where they won 7-3 after trailing in the first period. Then they play against the LA Kings, which was a 3-2 win, which was nice redemption from the game that they played in LA even earlier than that. Then they went to Columbus and had that slightly embarrassing loss, 5-3. Then they come home for Hank Knight against the Minnesota Wild in that really stressful loss, 3-2. They pushed in the third period, couldn't get it done. Then they get Seattle to come into Madison Square Garden for the first time in their franchise history, and they win 3-2 with that late slap shot by Miller in the last 30 seconds. Then Florida comes to town, and the Rangers decisively win 5-2, a very good game for the Rangers. Then we had that 2-week break. So then last week, Boston comes to town where the Rangers win in the shootout 2-1. Then, of course, the other day, Detroit with the 3-2 loss in the shootout. So back-to-back shootouts for the Rangers. And then, of course, yesterday at Ottawa, they win 2-1. Not a terrifyingly confident victory against the Ottawa Senators, but a victory nonetheless. So in the last 10 games, which spanned almost a month, 6-3-1. For the Rangers, which is a respectable record as a team that should make the playoffs. They are still above 500% in terms of 10-game stints. They haven't fallen below 500% yet in any 10 given games, which is good. Their next 10 games could go either way. I feel like I've said that before. For 10 games. You know, it's hard to predict, especially in the NHL, how well a team is going to do over any given span, but let's take a look at it. On Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 24th, Washington comes to town. Second time the Rangers will play that team since opening night. I want to say the Rangers win that game. If Shesterkin's in net and he stands really tall, and everybody does their job. They play really well defensively. I mean, Washington's kind of fallen off lately. They still have Ovechkin. They're still very dangerous offensively. But I think the Rangers come out with a win, especially since they're at home. Then 2 days later, on the 26th, they're at Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh has been probably the hottest team in the NHL lately, and they're playing at Pittsburgh. I'll give the Rangers the L for that game. I know I shouldn't be scared of the Pittsburgh Penguins, but for some reason you can never count them out. So I'll say the Rangers lose that game. I hope they don't, but I'll say they do. So 1-1 for the Rangers so far. Then they come back home and they play Vancouver the next day. Is tiredness going to be something that factors into that game? Vancouver's going to have a little jet lag. They should win that game, so we'll say the Rangers are 2-1 so far. Then they get a little bit of a break, and then on March 2nd, St. Louis comes to town. Now, St. Louis, again, not a pretty good team, so not a bad team at all in St. Louis. They play them twice in these next 10 games. I'll say they split that little series between St. Louis. I'll say the Rangers win one, St. Louis wins one. So let's just say the Rangers win that one. So they're 3-1 in these next 4 games, respectable. Then New Jersey comes to town on the 4th. Should be a game that the Rangers win. So the first 5 games, we'll call that 4-1. Optimistically, we'll call that 4-1. Then they have a 4-game road trip, and this is where things could get hairy for the Rangers. I know they're pretty good on the road, but road trips are always scary. So they go into Winnipeg first, and that's a game that I think could go either way. I'll say the Rangers lose that one just to not be too optimistic. So 4-2. Then they go into Minnesota, which is a game that I think they'll lose again. Minnesota's just too good of a team. I think they will lose that again. So I think the Rangers will have a pretty rough start to this road trip. Maybe they lose to Winnipeg in overtime. We'll call it that. So let's say up to Minnesota, the Rangers are 3-2-1 or 4-2-1. Yeah, we'll say 4-2-1. They go into St. Louis. Let's say they lose that game, so 4-3-1. They go into Dallas. They lost against Dallas in overtime. I think it was the second game of the season. Maybe they squeak out with a win, so we'll say 5-3-1. Yeah, and then against Anaheim, so they should be able to beat Anaheim. So I will say, as objectively as I can, the Rangers should be able to go 6-3-1 again over these next 10 games. Maybe it's 5-3-2. Maybe it's 5-4-1. One of those three should be the record over these next 10 games. I would be happy if the Rangers are able to get 7 or more wins in these next 10 games. But I think 6 is the most they'll get over these next 10. Shesterkin has been playing phenomenally. He is top 3 goalie in the league. He's top with save percentage, but all things considered, he's easily top 3, top 2 if you want to be optimistic. 24-5-3 record this season, 201 goals against, and a .939 save percentage. White hot, one of the best goalies in the league. Georgiev, 7-7-2, respectable for a backup. 299 goals against, .898 save percentage. It makes Georgiev look worse that he's constantly being compared to Shesterkin. Those numbers are not horrendous for a backup. You would like him to be in the 900s for save percentage. You would like him to be in the mid 200s for goals against. But again, he's a backup that needs to play more, which is why I think it's in the best interest of both the Rangers and Georgiev to trade him, because Georgiev's a goalie that's going to do much better the more starts he gets. So getting Georgiev to a team that needs a goalie to play more, I think would be beneficial for him. And if the Rangers can get something back in return, a pick or a low-level prospect, something just to get his salary off the books, clear up a little bit more room for them to do something at the trade deadline. Now we get to the team stats, or the player stats. Panarin leads the team right now in points, 45 games, 14 goals, 41 assists, 55 points. He's a +2. Only 14 goals for Panarin so far. He is a very unselfish player. He does like to pass a lot, which is why he has 41 assists, tied for the team lead with Fox. Would like to see him shoot a little more, because as we saw in Ottawa, he is deadly accurate when he wants to be. So if Panarin can shoot the puck a little bit more and not be as selfless, be a little bit more selfish, I think we can see those goals move up. Maybe that wins a couple more games for the Rangers. Zibanejad, 50 games. He's played every game this season. 19 goals, 32 assists, 51 points. He's a +13. Zibanejad has been playing really well as of late. His season arc has been moving up pretty much the entire season. He started slow, and then he got better, and now he is back to being Zibanejad. He's almost at 20 goals again for, I don't even know, probably the 4th or 5th time in his career he's gotten to 20 goals. Fox, 47 games, 7 goals, 41 assists, 48 points. He's a +10. He is 3rd on the team in points as a defenseman. He is still the Fox of last year. He's still playing at a Norris level. Really hard to win the Norris Trophy 2 years in a row, so I'm not holding my breath for that. But he will be in the conversation. He will be top 4, top 3 in Norris considerations at the end of the season. If he has white hot over the next 32 games to finish the season, maybe he does win it 2 years in a row, which would be absolutely crazy. Kreider, 50 games, 33 goals, 14 assists, 47 points. He's a +12. 33 goals for Kreider. If he can get to 17 more goals in 32 games, that's a goal every other game. Can he do it? Can he get to 50 goals? That's going to be one of the storylines moving into the last couple games, the last stretch of the season. Can Kreider get to 50 goals? I want him to so bad. I really want him to. Strome, 46 games, 10 goals, 26 assists, 36 points, +1. Strome has, not so much lately, but over the last couple of years, quietly been the second center that the Rangers need. And this year especially, he has cemented himself as the second-line center that this team needs. He is performing at a rate that the Rangers can't discount. He's the guy. This year, he's the guy. And if they want to extend him, it's going to come down to, I think, Strome asking for more money than they're willing to give him, so the Rangers will offer him more years at a discounted rate, and then the fan base can be split on whether or not they like the contract. But we'll see what happens. Trouba, all 50 games, 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points, +8. Trouba has had a great year developing into that offensive defenseman that we hoped he would have been when we first got him from Winnipeg. Gaudreau, 47 games, 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points, +9. Again, not going to complain about Gaudreau. He has 21 points in 50 games. We got him as somebody we didn't need him to score a lot of points, and he quietly has been contributing offensively. With Kakko out, I understand why he's on the second line. But I mean, as long as he's helping contribute, I don't see a problem. He is far from the biggest problem on this team, so that's all we have to say. Kakko has missed the last bunch of games, but in 36 games, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points, +7. Again, +7. The defensive side of his game is very, very good. He just needs to step up and take that next step offensively. He's in his third year. The numbers aren't quite where we would like to see them. And yet we'll see what happens. He's a number 2 pick, so the Rangers aren't in any hurry to move him. He's going to get another year at least to prove that he's good. Probably past that. Just hope that he picks his game up. And if he plays in the top 6 consistently, I think that's what he needs. It's just like Lafreniere. He needs to be in the top 6 consistently for his game to get there. Lafreniere, 48 games, 10 goals, 3 assists, 13 points, -3. So Lafreniere's defensive game, obviously not fantastic, not awful, but he's an offensive player. He's a playmaker. So, of course, his defensive game is going to be lacking every now and then. As long as he stays on the top line, I think he'll be able to make his numbers go up over the rest of the year. But he's got to stay on the first line. Gallant can't take him off the first line. Hedl, 41 games, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points, -2. Depending on the player they go for at the trade deadline, Hedl might be part of that package. I think we've run the Hedl experiment long enough to know that it's not going to pan out as well as we had hoped. And that leads to a conversation. Do we continue to pour time and money into a player that isn't at the level we had hoped he would get to? Or do we use him to get a player that is arguably better? Over the next couple weeks, we'll see what happens. Miller, 50 games, all 50 games. 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points, +5. We don't need him to score a lot of points, although it would be lovely if he did. Excuse me. But he's quietly becoming one of my favorite players. I love me some Miller. And he scored some pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty time-sensitive goals. Like that goal in the end of the Kraken game. That's top 10 moments of the year. It will be at the end of the year. Top 10 moments, that Miller goal at the end of the game was just electric. Rooney, 47 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points, +1. Again, Rooney, fourth liner. We don't expect too much. I like Rooney. I think for the role that he has on this team, he is doing well with it. Lindgren, 47 games, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, +16. Again, he's paired with Fox, so we don't need Lindgren to score a lot of points. That's Fox's job. We just need Lindgren to be that nice stay-at-home defenseman who's going to rough people up, and that's exactly what he does. Hunt, 45 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points, -8. Like I said in the other game, I'm souring on Hunt. He's on the third line, which is fine. Is he the long-term option at third line? No. I think at most he's going to be a fourth-line player for this team, but I really don't see him being on this team for years. I think he'll either go back down to Hartford or he'll get traded. Reeves, 43 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points, -8. Reeves, he's the mascot for this team. He's not going anywhere. He signed for 1 more year. We'll see after that what happens. I don't see them signing him after next year. Maybe he retires. Maybe he finds his home somewhere else. Maybe the Rangers do re-sign him for a year. Who knows? But he's a great fourth liner. He's going to rough people up. That fourth line is very good at being hard-nosed, making the other team pay for touching the puck. And Reeves is a big part of that. Gauthier, 37 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, -3. Not the numbers we would have hoped from Gauthier, but again, he hasn't been in the NHL that long. Do I see him as a long-term player on this team? Probably not. But again, it depends on who the Rangers get at the deadline, what prospects show some fire during training camp for next year and kind of go to kick him out of a spot a little bit. We'll see. He's one of those players that's on the fence. He could stay, he could go. Schneider in 13 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. He's a +1. 5 points in 13 games for a 20-year-old defenseman in his first year in the NHL. That's not bad. And he plays a hard game of hockey. I really like Schneider. I hope he stays. I hope Jones replaces Nemeth. And I hope that's their defensive pair for the rest of the season, because if Jones and Schneider develop some chemistry and start scoring a few more points as we get to the end of the season, that 6-man defensive team for the Rangers, Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba, Jones, Schneider, that's going to be really nice to have going into this first round. McKegg, 30 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, -6. McKegg's a nothing player to me. I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's just kind of neutral. If he's on the team, fine. Are there better options? Absolutely. I think Barron should be on this team instead of McKegg. Maybe some of you agree, maybe some of you don't, but I think Barron should get his shot on this team, because he could be a very, very nice 4th liner, and if he shows potential, even 3rd liner on this team. He's paid his dues in Hartford. I think he's ready. Nemeth, 39 games, no goals, 2 assists, 2 points, -11. Nemeth is the only player on this team that's played a significant amount of games and does not have a goal yet. I was hoping he would get one the other night, but not in the cards yet for Nemeth. Again, I want Jones in there instead of Nemeth. I don't hate Nemeth. Again, he's a neutral player for me. He's not the biggest problem on this team, so I'm not worried about him. Jones, 8 games, no goals, 1 assist, 1 point, -3. Jones, I think if he gets more time, will score his first goal before Nemeth. I just think he's more offensively talented than Nemeth. And I hope Jones get way more games, because 8 games is not a large sample size, but we like what we've seen, I think, as a fan base from Jones in only 8 games. I did not put Hayek on the board just because I hope he gets traded. And I don't even remember his stats. Not worth talking about. He just, we don't need to talk about him. Team stats. This team is 32, 13, and 5 for 69 points. If they win one more game or they lose in overtime, they get to 70 points in just over 50 games, which would be nice to see. That's a fantastic pace for the Rangers. 3rd in the Metro. 3rd in the very difficult Metro division. Let's just put it this way. The Rangers, I think, are 6th in the NHL, 6th or 7th. So which means the top 6 or 7 teams in the NHL, 3 of them are metropolitan teams. Like, that's all you have to say about how tough this division is, especially at the top. Goals for, 147, which is 16th in the NHL, down from 12th 10 games ago. That's goals for. Goals against, 125, which is 4th, which is up from 6th. So this team playing a little not as well offensively, or maybe some teams are just playing better than them offensively. The team's not bad offensively. 5-on-5, we can have that discussion. Goals against, though, much better. And that's a lot to do with Shesterkin, but I also think this team is playing better defensively. Goals for per game, 2.94, which is 16th in the league, up from 17th. So the Rangers are scoring just under 3 goals a game, which makes sense if you look at the scores over here. Goals against per game played, 2.5, which is 3rd, which is down from 2nd. So we can complain that they are down from where they were 10 games ago, but they're 3rd in the league for goals against per game played, and that has a lot to do, again, with Shesterkin. Power play, 26.6%, which is 3rd in the NHL, up from 10th. The Rangers' power play has been white hot as of late, as well as their penalty kill, 83.2%, which is 8th in the NHL, down from 3rd, but still top 10. So again, if both of your special teams percentages add together to over 100, that is great. And the Rangers have, 109.9 as their special teams. They are elite special teams in the league. Shots per game played, 28.9, which is still 29th in the league. Rangers are not good at getting a lot of shots on goal, something they need to figure out, which is why they're not scoring a lot 5-on-5, which is one of the big issues that we have as a fan base with this team. Shots against per game played, 32, which is 22nd, which is down from 18th. So they're not shooting as much. They're letting more shots in, but as long as Shesterkin's in net, you can land in as many shots as you want. Faceoffs 48.1, which is 25th, which is up from 26th. Credit where credit's due. They are better than they were 10 games ago, or maybe some teams are just doing worse. You never know, but the Rangers will be under 50% for faceoffs for the rest of the year. They are not a team that wins faceoffs unless they're playing a team that's below them in the standings. All this said, a productive 10 games. 6-3-1 is not a record that you can turn your chin up at. I think they should be very similar over the next 10 games. I'm predicting 6-3-1 over the next, but it depends on how that 4-game road trip goes, because that's a lot of travel, and we'll see if the team can keep it up. How many of these games does Georgiev play? I bet you he plays against Vancouver, and maybe New Jersey, maybe Anaheim. I think Shesterkin takes all 4 of the games on the road trip. Maybe Georgiev plays 2 of those games. Hard to tell. But we'll see. What are your thoughts? How do you think the Rangers are going to do over the next 10 games? Of course, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next rundown.